Morning, everyone. Welcome to my live stream. Wherever you are in the world, and there's loads of people watching from different parts, so thank you so much. Whether you're watching now, after the event, hope you have an awesome day. Today, I wanted to speak about something that constantly comes up all the time. How many interview rounds is too many? Everyone I speak to, as I'm helping people go through interview processes, help companies manage their interview process and all of these things. One of the comments you get from candidates more often than not is, the interview process has gone on too long. There's too many rounds, all of those things. So I did a poll a while ago, and I'm going to stick it in the chat. So it was really interesting, and I thought I'm just going to get a sense check. Like I hear this a lot, but what do other people think? So I did a little poll on LinkedIn, and the simple question was, is it good to have as many interviews as possible with a potential employer? Essentially, is too many rounds too many? We had 67% of people say short and sweet is the best. 13% said more the better. The rest depends. And we had 550 people vote. So thank you to everyone for voting. Loads of interesting comments. But I think it was really interesting, like reading the comments, looking at the 67% of people who thought shorter interview processes were better. But if you just delve into it a little bit more, is it that they've obviously had a bad experience, right? Whatever firm they've gone for, they felt that the interview processes have been too long. And is it because there are too many rounds, or is it because there's a bunch of other things that go into making a great interview process or great candidate experience? And so it's interesting to kind of delve in and think about that. And so if you're a hiring manager and you're thinking about how to structure your interview process, it might be that you need a bunch of rounds, and they need to meet lots of people. If you're hiring a board member, a senior leader, there might be, and there's likely to be, a bunch of different stakeholders involved, and it's important. So I think for me, context is everything, right? Like managing people's expectations, it's so important. And so whether it's whoever it's through, whether it's your internal talent acquisition team, external headhunter, hiring manager directly, I think it's really important to set the scene, set the context. So when people start to engage and go through your interview process, everyone knows where they're at. And so that's the other thing as well. It's time as well as volume. So you could have 3-4 interviews, but it go on for 3 months, versus a client or company that's got 10 interview processes and does it in a timely manner. So again, think about the time involved, because people get disconnected. They engage with you initially. If the time drifts and it's a few weeks and it's popped out of their minds, again, you're going to have to re-engage them, resell them the story, because it is competitive. A lot of people are hiring, the market's really picking up, and so you really have to be mindful of giving people a great experience and setting expectations. For me, vital. And if things do drift, this is life, right? It's not perfect. Things change. People leave. People are on holiday. Whatever the scenario is. Just communicate. People really appreciate it. And so, small bits of communication and these little things will really make the difference between people enjoying the experience and then also starting to feel what your culture's like and all of those things. So if you're going to have a lot of rounds, communicate, do them in a timely manner, and give context around it. Who are these candidates going to be meeting? Why? What do they want to get out of it? So I think about those things. If you're a candidate, for me, I personally think it's great to meet as many people as possible. So often when I'm speaking to people and they're talking through some of the reasons why they're leaving, so much of it's people, right? This classic kind of quote, people leave people, not companies. So my point to that is, if you've just met a small number of people, 3-4 people, and they leave, new people come in, suddenly you've lost your sponsor, the people that have hired you have left. So I think for doing your due diligence as a candidate, to make sure that you're making the right choice. It's the right culture. It's the right vibe. That it's, it is what it says on the tin. The role's not being missold. Expectations are aligned. It's great to get different views from people. So for me, it's really interesting. I would do that. If a firm's only getting you to meet a couple of people, I mean, for me, I'd want to meet more people. So there's a real benefit for me in that. And again, I think it's worth investing the time, and again, in a timely manner. You don't want things to drift, because if you are interviewing at lots of different places and you're in a few different processes, of course you're investing so much time in it. And this brings me to my other point. If you're hiring, feedback, and I'm going to quote my friend Glenn Martin here, feedback is the price you pay for people investing time in an interview process with you. You're not paying people for their time. You're asking them to come in, and remember, it's like a good hour or two thinking and prep time for people, an hour or two in the interview, hour or two downloading. People are investing loads and loads of time engaging in your interview process. And the least you can do is pay them back with feedback. So I think really remember that. And if they're getting good quality feedback throughout the process, you're communicating with them, you're engaging with them, the context is set and stuff, then you're going to end up having a real great experience. Even if people don't end up securing a role, getting a job, you just never know, right? And people speak about bad experiences so often. And that's a lot of the time what we hear about the interview process too long, no feedback, and all of those things. So make sure you get it right. The other thing also is quite a few people, and again, depending on the role, level, all of those things, ask for presentations, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day plans, things like that. So again, if you're asking people and you feel, a presentation, a business plan, something like that is important. Again, give context, be mindful of people's time, and again, give good quality feedback. A lot of stuff's virtual now as well. So again, just think about how these virtual panels are constructed. Like 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Sometimes it gets a little bit disjointed if you're on a video. So just think about how many people. Again, if it needs to go into a few more rounds, great context, right? And maybe in person you'd have a panel interview, 3, 4 people, but maybe you feel that on video, it's 1 or 2 people. So if you're giving candidates context around that, then I think that'll be really interesting and great for them. So the key thing for me is think about the experience. If you're having lots of rounds, communicate why. If you're a candidate, I would want to do my due diligence for sure. Last couple of points is, remember when you're hiring to give candidates the space and the time to ask the questions and find out the stuff they need to find out to make one of the most important life decisions that one makes, right? Moving jobs. You spend so much time with your colleagues, in person or virtual, whatever the scenario is, but it's important. And again, we hear so often clients, companies, hiring managers, they're focusing so much on asking the questions and assessments and all of those things, and rightly so, but forget sometimes just to give candidates the space and time to find out the stuff they need to. So bear that in mind. That's it. Hope you enjoyed my espresso. Have an awesome day. I'm actually going to go and have an espresso now. So have a great one and speak soon.